So hello and welcome everyone. As you know, the last time we did some also like Golang StarCraft II data processing. So if you were here on the stream live, then good for you. If you were not, then feel free to see my previous video, part 1 of the Golang StarCraft II data processing series, where I work on my scientific tool, which later on will be published and available to cite for anyone willing to or wishing to making some research around StarCraft II and replay processing. So last time we solved the problem where right after processing the files and packaging them here, I was initializing a package summary which was nil, and it took me a long while to figure out this problem because the problem was below the code and not above it, so it was not a direct result of something that happened before, but we are working within a loop here, so that was causing the problem in the end. But today we'll be fixing the stuff that we broke last time. So I'll go into the summary creator, and first of all I will make everything work here in this manner instead of this, because as you can see, this is like just straight up, I believe, copying data and not working with the data in a nice and optimal way. At least I think so. I'm not so sure about it. So once again, don't quote me on that one. So let's make it happen. Okay, so we were also logging stuff here, but for now I don't think I need that. And yeah, just delete the unnecessary parts of the code. This was a comment anyway. So technically, let's just uncomment this. Let's, make it for all of those. This is package summary, game times. This will take me some time, so okay, so I have fixed everything in here, and effectively I have deleted all of the unnecessary code. I'm working with references now instead of working with the data as is, and hopefully this will not copy any data. I am not so sure about this stuff here, below here, but I don't even know if it works. But for now, I will introduce logging and I will see how it will work and if it will work at all. So let's do that now, and I'll come back right after that. I'll try and maybe speed up the work. I think I have noticed a potential problem where I am doing this like package summary TVT matchup twice, which I believe is technically incorrect. So let's comment that out and see if so I just hope that this works. Let's check it. Let's try and run it, and hopefully we won't see any problems. But on the other hand, okay, it works. So perfect. I'm just not really sure what else is there to be done here at this point in time. So I'll just clean up a little bit, introduce logging to all of the different places that I think that logging is needed, and later on I'll think of some more stuff. Okay, so as you can see, we still have some missing spots when it comes to logging, and I'm just adding this right now because, well, after all, if something will fail later on, I want at least to be able to find and trace the steps of what was happening, and still cleaning stuff up, creating more and more logging information, so that later on when I'll release that, the users which will find any kind of problems will be able to send me the logs, and I will see what step failed and maybe possibly provide some kind of help to the end user, which I just hope that my software will just work and no one will have to use these logging features. But let's just face it, let's be real. Nothing ever works like it's supposed to, so I'm just being safe and adding logging. Okay, so see this redefine replay structure is a really big function which takes the replay data and just like the name suggests, it's restructuring. So I'm copying the initial replay structure to my own data structures, which are a little bit easier to work with. And then because of that, I have the ability to just make my queries a little bit easier. But as you can see, there is absolutely no logging here, so I will be adding logging to this piece of code right now. Just will be lots of logging, so let me speed it up for you guys. At least for everyone watching on YouTube, you will see this a little bit quicker, so don't be afraid. But overall, for everyone on Twitch, I hope that you will bear with me. And okay, so I roughly added the logging.info log info after every struct, apart from the ones that are placed within loops or nested loops, because this would create a lot of like chaos, a lot of information, which will quite frankly damp the readability of the logs at the end. So I have decided to add logs just after the bigger structures are defined. I also need to clean up the stuff that you can see here, which is commented out, because I need to make some decisions when it comes to what needs to be left within the data and what is unnecessary for any future analysis that someone might conclude. So hopefully I will have the answers. Maybe I'll ask some people around what they think about the data that is available, and if all of it is required or needed for further analysis, and maybe what kind of, let's say, analytics or conclusions might be drawn from any piece of the data that's inside of here. And I also know that there is a possibility to extract the data using game engine, just simulating the games, like game after game at different time steps. But for the sake of big data sets like the one I told you about in the part 1 of my Golang data processing, like Golang StarCraft II data processing series, I have 2 million replays, and so I am not able to simulate the games and get ideal observation from the game engine. So I'm using the data that's easily available from the MPQ format, and it's just readily available by using a parser. So this is something to keep in mind, that for big data sets there is no way of effectively getting them all simulated, all of the replays simulated and recorded into observations. At least not now. I have some ideas on how to do that, and we'll have more videos on that. But for now, okay, so please note that I am already passing a reference or whatever you call it here. So when passing it here, I don't need to add the ampersand, I just need to pass it directly, which looks a little weird, but I believe it's supposed to work. And just verifying, there's lots of comments, lots of to-dos, which I will have to verify later on and see if everything is correct. But for now, I believe that we can commit the code and push it, because there was a lot of changes in different files with logging within. So let's just do that. So let's go git add all, git status, let's verify that everything was added, git commit, and here we can say, for example, added or maybe expanded logging in expanded logging, right? Just make it short, because it just says it all. It's only like a small change, but in different files, where in each and every file I expanded upon the logging features, and hopefully that's enough for anyone reading that later on. And let's just git push the code so that it gets sent to the GitHub repo that I've created for this, which you can basically see here, but it's private, and as I said before, it will be published later on when I'm finished with the code. So don't be afraid, you'll have the chance to look at everything that's being prepared at once. So for example, I have found another stuff that needs to be cleaned up. Like you can see, I am using a anonymized, like players anonymized, which is a really weak anonymization, which will basically go over the data set and will like make unique IDs, like primary keys, for each player that is anonymized in order that it meets the players in the data. So there's not much being done there. But let's just say that if there is 2 million replays, that there is basically no way to guess the order, and there are different data and different features which might say something about the person that was playing, but you cannot identify them straight up by nickname or anything like that. The data is being, let's say, weakly anonymized here. And please mind this comment, like I just specified that if I want to have a persistent anonymization map, I should pass a pointer or a reference to the map living in memory and later on being saved to drive, so that it is that the information stays persistent and I am able to split the code into smaller parts. And so yeah, this needs to be cleaned up because this was done, and I really need to do some research on how this is called, like if this is a, what does that mean? It's like mechanically I know that I'm pointing towards a structure in memory and I can access its value, and if I change it, it changes everywhere. But I don't remember the specific name that was used for this, right? And I need to do some more research on that. At least in Golang, because it's being called differently in different places, in different languages. Like, for example, if you program in Python, Python is said to be pass by object reference, and then when you have like equal sign between anything, you don't copy the data. You can like if you change it in one place, it changes everywhere, and so on. So I need to do some more research on this particular part of Golang, because I haven't had the need to use it very much here, but it's really important. Okay, so I have a question from one of the viewers. Najlepszy gracz, kurde, what is a Golang scientific tool? It's basically the thing that you can see here. Golang is a language. It's called Go. It was created by Google some time ago. So this basically says that I'm using Golang to write a scientific tool that allows me to process big amounts of data when it comes to like extracting the information from StarCraft II replays, because I have 2 million replays that I have obtained I think a year ago already, which I need to process so that I can later on make some analysis on them. But in order to process them, it's not an easy task. I need to be able to finish this whole tool, which I would encourage you to watch part 1 of this series on my YouTube channel. And for anyone watching this one, if you don't know what I'm doing here, please refer to the first part of. Okay, so as you can see, I am defining some to-dos. There is lots of them, and I need to go over them and verify everything, because some of these comments were made a long time ago, and I need to check if the planned features are indeed required, like still required. But when it comes to the problems like here and now, I have noticed that when I am incrementing game versions, the field that contains game versions in the original data is like build and then base build, which is like most of the time the same, and so it is not really that easy to just find the keys and increment and add them to a map and increment it, just because, like, let me try and explain that to you. Like, let's imagine that we have a base build. We have a base build information, right? And let's say that, if I remember correctly, for my sample data, this is like so. And if then I have a build information which is the same, then if I create a simple counter which will be adding this to a map, and I find a key like this and it's added to a map as a key here, right? And then I say that the value is 1 because I have incremented it. And then if I don't have the information about if it came from build or base build, next time I will check the value or check the map. If the key is already within my map, it will say yes, indeed you have the key, so let's just increment the value, which will result in doing just this, so 1 and adding 1 to it, so 1 plus 1, and then I lose information. I miss 5 here. Then I'm losing information because I don't know if the key came from the build or the base build, which is quite important if I want to be like really strict about it. Because later on the map will contain just the basic information, and I believe that I need to expand it so that I will hold nested sequences. Like, I will probably have to create a map which will hold maps. Well, this looks really ugly, but let's say that you know what I mean. I will have to create a map which will hold another map within, which then will hold information about like this, like base build, or even not like this, but let's go like this, base builds, and then this will hold a map which will contain a counters for this information, right? So again, we will have keys and then values. So I probably need to create a nested structure like that for all of that to work, for the whole data processing to be like not really efficient but meaningful, so that later on the information. Anyway, let me continue my problem solving on another stream. I made some progress when it comes to like, let's say, thinking about what needs to be done. I've cleaned up the project so that I will have a better starting point next time I come back to it. Right now, off stream or off video, I'll be verifying the to-dos, I will be verifying the structure of the program and seeing if everything is set up just exactly as I want it to be. And for that I'll probably have to ask some people around and just get second opinions around if I get the right data, if I should remove any kind of data, is there anything more that should be anonymized, what is required and what's not required. Because after all, like this is a big project. You can see that there is lots of files, there's lots of code, and it's really it should be a little more about the teamwork instead of just me making all of the decisions here. So thank you very much everyone for watching the second part, this part 2 of Golang StarCraft II data processing video or stream if you're here live. And if you like the content, if you like what I'm doing here, please leave a follow, leave a subscription, check out my other social media, and I hope I will meet you guys on some of my streams where I basically do all kind of different and weird stuff around programming, technology, design, sports, and more. So thank you once again, and